Welcome to the Asclepion. I'm Kevin McKeag.
And I'm Luke Strom.
Our podcast dives into the deep questions of life. How do we find love, discover our true selves, and live out our dreams in this wild, weird world? We're going to take you on a journey of philosophical inquiry, spiritual adventure.
Okay. Just imagine you're like sitting around a campfire with the homies and you all start opening up and talking about real shit. That's pretty much what we're going to do here.
Yeah, or it's what I said.
Okay, look, all you need to know is that we have no idea what we're doing.
Welcome
to the Asclepion.
Asclepion.
That's what I said.
Well, buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got Hollis and Adeline, our favorite Oneironauts, explorers of the dream realm, our friends who study Jungian archetypal dream imagery and who have seriously devoted their lives towards personal growth, development, mastery, and the exploration of the subtle realm. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Oneironauts? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Oneironauts?
Oneironaut.
Sick. That's a good word.
The
I'm gonna
Greeks,
write that
man.
down.
They
Yeah.
had lots of
a
great
great word.
words.
Is that how you two would introduce yourselves at a party? We're the Oneironauts?
Be a great Halloween costume.
Maybe you'll start
You're
next.
gonna have to now. Yeah. So yeah,
So
Kevin.
Luke's gonna
told me-
kick us off with some questions.
Well,
Okay,
Get
I'd
things
love
rolling.
You brought up a quote from the master Jung himself, and I'd love to hear that again.
Yeah. It's
Feel free
something
to
like,
paraphrase.
yeah, I'll have to paraphrase. It's something like we look out into the world and we see people, places, objects, stories, sounds, and we read words. And then we look in and we tend to see moving images. And typically they're called fantasies. And the interesting thing is that those fantasies are facts. Even though they're called fantasy, they are indeed facts. And it's way better when Jung says it, but
I'm digging this.
Yeah, there's a way that they can be discounted, but those fantasies have the power to make a man kill another man. Something as strong as kind of the most powerful act, or to make someone love someone else. So there's to paraphrase that quote, I mean, it's like there's this entire dimension of reality that is responsible for a lot of what we do, and sometimes it's completely obfuscated and eclipsed by the outside world. There's so much to pay attention to outside of us.
It's wild. So Luke and I were doing a little preamble this morning, just sort of brainstorming and thinking about what we might talk about today. And Luke was saying, it's so surprising that so many of us are out of touch with our dreams day to day. And it's not like a normal thing to wake up and remember your dreams, firstly, or then want to participate in your dreams. And I've been kind of musing about this idea that because dreams represent this liminal realm, it's almost like our avoidance of death. Our avoidance of the dream realm is almost a little bit like our avoidance of death, and not wanting to participate in something so nebulous because it defies the kind of rigidity or normalcy of our entrenched ego beliefs. And it's something like that. And I think what you're pointing to, Hollis, is there's like our concrete world, and then there's something that's accessible to us almost in a blind spot of our awareness that is just as real. And yet we often don't perceive it that way. We write it off as mere fantasy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well
I'm glad
said.
you brought that up. We were saying the same thing earlier, how I think another reason that people in general don't seem to talk about dreams in a very serious way is that, yeah, they are usually kind of perceived as fantasies and AKA not real. They if it didn't happen in conscious waking life, then it was just sort of a passing fancy. And I think most people think dreams are interesting, but I know very few people who take them seriously enough to, even just write them down and
Hmm.
to try to use them as, you know, a sort of mirror of their spirit or subconscious. And I've always been really fascinated by people who do that. And so that's the main reason we wanted to invite you both onto the show. We want to hear about your experiences with that, what you've been learning, and how you
Mm.
got started with that. And so maybe, yeah, maybe to start things off a little bit, you could tell us just a little bit, when you started getting really, interested in dream analysis, the dream world, and how that's impacted your lives.
I actually had a pretty kooky professor in college that was interested in Jungian psychology and dreams and would encourage us to get interested in our dreams. I actually took a short class on that topic, but nothing ever really became of it. I think at the time I wasn't really able to either like you said take that seriously, or I think it's something more than that. Like I think there is a growing capacity in some way that I just hadn't honed. So it's kind of like, an amateur, an extreme novice, just really being thrown into the fray and not really knowing how to navigate what was going on. I was also smoking a lot of weed at the time, which sometimes I think is not. I have had moments where I do have dreams and remember them if I've smoked pot, but at the time that was a real block.
It is. You have less REM, actually. You have
Oh
less
yeah,
REM sleep when
yeah, there you
you're
go.
smoking pot.
Yeah.
It's also
So
what
that
made me
was
stop smoking pot as a teenager. I was like, oh, I'd rather dream and meditate. This is getting in the way of my fun.
really wow.
Yeah, yeah,
You're fun.
yeah.
Wow.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, speaking of consciousness, that takes something for you to have that kind of insight and act on it. So at first I didn't act on it. Speaking of which, I didn't when I knew that I could see that, oh, this could be helpful and this would be at least very interesting and meaningful, but I have no capacity to act on it. So it kind of just went into the background for me. And then a few years later, I started having like I started doing a lot of psychedelics and started having visionary experiences during that. Images, definitely many fantasies associated with like this really just a whole aspect of my life coming alive. I think that psychedelics kind of unlocked or at least perturbed, but still wasn't able to like really interact with them. I would try to lucid dream and kind of insert myself into dreams, but there was no real there still wasn't really I wasn't really garnering much from them. That's I think the difference between then and the past few years. For like the past 4.5, 5 years, we've both been doing Jungian analysis with a educated Jungian analyst, and the difference for me, I mean, I don't really. This is a part of the kind of why consciousness is so eternally interesting and mysterious. Is like I don't know why it happened how it happened. I just all of a sudden, and that's kind of part of the aspect of Mercurius. It's really this ever changing thing that just kind of happens, and we don't really know necessarily why. But for some reason, I called up this analyst, started working with him, and then I was committed to it. I didn't just drop it. I kept doing it every week, sometimes multiple times a week, analyzing my dreams, looking at them through that lens. And Jungian lineage provides a scaffolding for you to insert your own personal individual kind of meaning with the dreams that are happening. So yeah, it's hard to say why.
So you didn't necessarily have like one experience that, just completely blew your mind and then you were all in. It was more of a gradual effort for you to stick with it and kind of just kept building on itself over time.
Yeah, I mean, I would have probably said 10 years ago that I was really interested in my dreams, but I wasn't able to bring the honed capacity of really that I think there is something in the lineage that is transmitted that kind of sharpens your acuity.
Do you think that for most people who try to, undertake this Jungian analysis, like you have, that most people have to go through a lot of unblocking of their unconscious mind in order to get to easier, facility with that? Or is it just kind of a lot to learn? Is it like a lot of specific skills? Or I imagine a lot of people have a lot of these kind of blocks that they have to peel back over time to get to a sense of, okay, I kind of get the hang of understanding my own dream world.
I would venture something, actually.
I have an answer. Kevin, you got some?
Yeah, for sure. I'll just say this quickly. I hope I'm not, interrupting the narrative flow here. I imagine this call being like a cool conversation, and I also want to make sure that we put plenty of spotlight on you guys. So I'll try to shut the fuck up as much as possible and listen. But I did want to say that I think the subtle realm kind of has its own pull. And when it starts infiltrating your life and you start paying attention to it, you'll follow threads like with synchronicity that will lead you to vistas of consciousness and awareness that you hadn't dreamed of before, that you hadn't imagined before. And that I think the unblocking, Lucas, that you were talking about, I think that is a gradual development of your awareness to be more keen on the invisible realm that is nonetheless real. And the unblocking is actually a growth of identity to be able to perceive those levels, kind of like tuning the radio to the dream realm or the subtle realm. So I'll venture that, and would love to hear what you guys have to think. Adeline, what do you?
I like that way that you said that. When you started talking, the thing that popped into my mind is when you said effort. It's like there's effort in it, but it's also easeful. It's like you have both. It's like you have to put effort in, but there's something that is kind of easy about it. And I think that it's because you are interacting with, your own subconscious and unconscious, and the information that, bubbles out of that. It is, it is tailored to what you are ready for. And it's not like you're just getting, like bamboozled with information that you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to interact with this or how to understand it. Like it's like you have a very like slow drip. And so even the blocks that do come, it's like it's presented to you, in the images in a way that you can take the threads to, like unblock it. But it doesn't feel, like this immovable force.
Would you say that, therefore, that there's like an intelligence to the dream world itself?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I mean, that's the part for me that keeps me coming back, I think, is the awe of how acute the images are tailored to you as an individual ego. Like they incorporate secrets you have with yourself that you've never told anyone, and experiences that you've forgotten about, and associations and fondnesses for objects and people and situations and terrors of those things that you've never mentioned or even thought about mentioning. Like every there's like the self because it is a totality, it has access to everything you've ever been through and ever even mused about. It's like it's so attuned, especially in moments when it is more clear. Like there's a lot. I mean, I think there's many reasons why people, that could bring someone to be interested in their dreams. One of them is, I think, when the collective, I mean, there's a lot of Jungian terms I could go into here, but kind of the collective unconscious is I would think of as a strata of the unconscious that is very attuned to all humans, or to the culture. It's used synonymously with culture, I think, in the way that most people mean it. And there are widespread cultural beliefs that act as a sort of filter for the self coming through and connecting with you individually. And that filter depersonalizes the information. So that I think is really off-putting to a lot of people, including myself. When there's a dream that's like, I don't know, the people on the news are telling you, you suck. It's like, oh, it's like, how could I?
In today's
How can
news,
I?
Lucas Traum sucks in Philadelphia.
Yeah, right. Like that's a really negative example, but it's very unsavory.
I'm curious to just hear a little more what you mean by depersonalization, because I was going to ask you if I sometimes, get the sense that my dreams, that this experience is coming from a foreign place, but maybe the point is that it feels foreign, even though it's coming from your own wellspring of experience, and sometimes memories are infused there. But I'm also really curious about the connection of your own private dream world to, like you said, the collective unconscious. So yeah, when you say they get depersonalized, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. One great question, Luke. One of Jung's kind of central thesis is that, or thesi, I don't know which word it is.
Luke studied Latin, so he can tell you.
Yeah.
theses, I believe.
So, is that individuation is something that kind of happens organically, but is also something that you could strive for, and that the process of individuation it's something worth reflecting on. And so if you think about a baby, whether it's a human or an animal, it comes into the world and it has an environment that it's right. Like, this is like psychology 101 of like, oh, well, you're going to come into your environment and you're going to adapt to it. Right. And so when you adapt to that environment, you don't just adapt physically, but you also adapt emotionally and mentally, and start to build constructs that fit the environment you're in. Well, that happens psychologically for us as well. And that can be really, for some people, it's really comfortable. And for other people, it's very uncomfortable. And some people are somewhere in between. And something that helped you adapt to survive and to fit in with everyone around you, eventually you are going to, go through a metamorphose. This is not necessarily true for everyone, and not necessarily true for everyone at every point in your life either, right? Like, I came into dreams and I was just like, well, I'm comfortable smoking weed, like, and just like watching the news. Like, I don't need that. I don't need to individuate. I'm just being comfortable with where I am. I don't need this information that's outside of me. I'm getting all my information from the culture. I'm fine with where I'm at. right? So at some point that changed. And it wasn't like I made a decision. It wasn't a willful choice. Something changed, and I needed to outgrow that husk or that shell that I was in. And then all of a sudden, I'm individuating and moving away from the collective, having my own sorts of opinions and standpoints on things, and working that out.
Would you say that you were individuating into something greater than yourself? Because, the way I was talking about it earlier, it does seem like the subtle realm has like this toroidal like pull, if you're aware, and it sort of draws you in as you're able to grow and deepen into being attuned to it, right? And so it's a funny thing to think about the difference between depersonalizing and individuating. And I think it's the same word from a different perspective, because you're individuating out of something that's limiting and you're decentering or depersonalizing into something new that nonetheless is forcing you to grow into a new identity. And then suddenly you're, so yeah, I'm curious, because this journey of human development fascinates me. So like, what is it you feel that you're individuating out of, and what is it you feel you're depersonalizing into?
Yeah,
this is our central mystery here in this question.
I think I meant depersonalizing is maybe not the best word. I think I meant more like when you're in a collective strata of information, it is very impersonal. Is not interested in who you are individually. It doesn't care about what you've been through, what like what you ate for breakfast, what you find interesting, like any of those kind of things are not a part of, they're not in the calculation of that. What about one of the things that I think you're bringing up that's really interesting though is like what is it that you're moving towards? Well, that's unknown, and that's really exciting. And you make me think of this guy. I don't remember his name, but he worked under Jung. He's British. I can remember his accent. He worked with Jung, and he talks about how one of the ways to think about individuation is that the ego, and when I say ego, I don't mean it in an Eastern Buddhist sense. I mean it in a Western sense. And the Jungian lineage is there's nothing particularly wrong with ego. In fact, it's a positive force. It's not something to be gotten rid of. It's more of the thing that allows you to even function. So he talks about how individuation can be thought of as the ego going into a ground of divinity or a kind of secret, mysterious place and stealing energy from God, and that man could take some of that energy and keep it for himself, but in so doing that takes on a part of the responsibility that God had.
It reminds me of the Prometheus myth of the Prometheus stealing fire and bringing it back and being punished or burdened by the responsibility of seeing.
Exactly. Totally. It's a Promethean myth. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that. The ground of divinity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets back to this central mystery that we're talking about of like, what does the dream realm represent except the frontier or the horizon that keeps receding as you go towards it, indicating more and more wholeness and more depth and deeper understanding, a journey that never ends.
Yeah.
Like this vast oneness current that you're continuously exploring in a deeper and deeper way.
What is the receding piece? Can you say more about that? How you?
Well, like you think you know where the horizon is because you're looking at it and it seems fixed and stable, and then as soon as you move towards it, it It's gone, and it's replaced by another horizon that's further away with different terrain that you didn't, see before. Something like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
So I have tried to play the role of kind of the naive person to these various subjects that we go over on our show, because I am usually the naive person in real life. But if someone is thinking about starting to learn how to kind of study their dreams, pay more attention to them, how would they go about starting to learn? And also, why would they want to learn if they really have zero experience with the Jungian analysis theories, but also just personally, they don't really have much experience journaling or anything. Like, why would they even want to do this? The average person. What's the main motivation, and how would they do it?
I mean, I think that's a great question because I don't think people really know why. I think that's part of the mystery, at least for me and my journey with dreams. Like, there's part of me that, kind of like you were saying, like, I don't really know why I chose dreams. I don't really know why, like, the Jungian path seems like the way to go, but there's something in it that continuously pulls me.
Mm-hmm. I think that for a lot of people, I imagine this is true. I'm pretty sure this is true for Kevin. I don't know about you, Lucas, but like, definitely true for me. Like, at some point, the information I was getting outside of myself just wasn't working for me. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't satisfying, and so I just naturally started looking other places.
I always just thought that, or I assumed that the main, maybe goal is kind of a lame word, but the main intention with studying dreams is a deeper understanding of yourself, your psyche, whatever you want to say. Does that seem to be a general, at least, side effect, even if that's not your main drive for doing it? Does that usually, I imagine it's hard not to learn things about yourself if you're really paying attention to your dreams over months and years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it expands.
Mm-hmm.
That's another, hazard of learning something as you find out how much you don't know.
Yeah.
I think there is something about dreams. I think that looking at them accelerates a certain aspect. I wouldn't say all aspects, but it accelerates a certain aspect of I would call it solidity. Yeah, I like that. I like that part because you're kind of the dreams. The self seems to work on things in its own in a pattern that is completely attuned to you, specific to the moment, kind of seasonal. Okay, we're gonna look at your stuff with your mother. Okay, we're gonna look at your stuff with your father. Okay, we're gonna look at our stuff with the great mother and the great father. And we're going to look at stuff, that is, across time, and that's bound to Christianity and your place with it, or Buddhism and your place with it. Like, there's such a variety of themes that come up in dreams. Yeah, I don't know what that's an interesting thing is, like, I couldn't ever say, and I wouldn't ever say, oh, I know for you, Luke, if you look at your dreams, this is going to come up. All of of humanly authority is deferred to the dream, to the self. It's not about what I think.
Got it.
Could you
Like, there's a
speak to us?
scaffold that I could help someone start to look at images, and there's, but the very specific parts of those kind of click into place with each individual person.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak to us about the difference between just imagery and themes versus archetypes?
Yeah. So that I would say that, earlier I was speaking about the collective is kind of like, it's not like you stop having collective dreams, although I think that is implicated sometimes. I go through periods of having a lot more collective dreams, and then there's deeper layers, which I would call archetypal. So like archetypal dreams are, it'd be like you're at the pyramids talking to Moses and the burning bushes there, and these kinds of things. Like but it feels really personal. So there's different strata of dreams is what I would say. However, all of those things are within dream imagery. And also you could, a lot of Jungians would say that waking visions and hallucinations are also the same kind of thing.
That's beautiful.
But
Yeah.
But it also feels like it's layered in a way where it's like you initiate the want to explore the unconscious, and so you start journaling your dreams, and then you start getting more dreams, and then you start working on for me, my relationship with the animus, or for Hollis, his relationship with the anima, and like those, as you start to build relationship with those aspects, like they are the guideposts, and kind of like, yeah, I guess like the guideposts to like help you as you move toward the archetypal information. My ego is just like, we're ready for archetypal info. It's like, no, you have these aspects of yourself that are like, we're here to explore this with you. And
the anima and the animus are central figures to engaging with archetypal information.
Yeah.
Could you define those words for our audience?
Yeah. So the anima is the feminine aspect of a man, and the animus is the masculine aspect of a woman. However, that's not like that's a very simplified version of a way of saying it. The way I like to think about it is when we incarnated into a body as a sperm and an egg coming together, we expressed biologically in one of those directions, and as a result, this kind of supernatural force almost projected out of or in tandem with us is expressed in our psychological makeup and appears constantly in dreams. So like in woo woo circles, this is one of the most like basic ways this is talked about is like the twin flame phenomenon. Like, oh, you're my twin flame. It's like, well, no, you're.
Where can I find one of these woo woo circles? I want to go jump in.
Are your dreams leaving you dissatisfied? Do you often wake up trying to forget the feeling of making out with a camel? Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, millions of Americans report having vapid or disgusting dreams at least once a night. But thankfully, those days have come to an end. Introducing Dream Drops. Using the latest science on dream-enhancing substances, we've crafted a cutting-edge and totally FDA-approved formula that takes your dreams to the next level. Just a few drops under your tongue before bed and you'll be off to see the wizard. Forget camels. Start making out with Glenn Powell or Sabrina Carpenter. Don't play your songs in your parents' basement. Play them at Carnegie Hall in your underwear. Dream Drops. Dream the dreams you deserve. And did we mention they're legal?
It seems okay. So it seems like the anima and the animus, respectively, are like your essential shadow as a polarized being. And we come into the world as masculine or feminine, more or less. And there's something within us that is our direct opposite that we're not as aware of consciously, but it shows up all over the place in the dream realm, which is more of a direct mirror of wholeness than concrete reality is. Something like that. What do you say?
I'd say that we're throwing a lot of terms out there, and it's kind of part of the territory. Is like the Jungians, they spend a lot of time making terms and analyzing dreams, and there's a lot of terminology that is the specifics matter. So one slight thing is the shadow is distinct from the anima and the animus. So while the anima or the animus could be shadowy or dark, it is not the shadow. The shadow has more to do with you as a person or as an ego, but the anima and the animus is more like a guide. One of the famous Jung quotes is the complex sits between the ego and archetype, and the anima is a part of the complex of what is like traditionally meant by the word complex. So anytime that we're garnering, and this is all a Jungian lens, I don't mean to offend anyone by these kind of things, but anytime you're garnering or relating with the self or God, there's a go-between, and that go-between is the anima and the animus, and they can take a variety of forms. That's one of the kind of, for me, one of the more fascinating parts of dream analysis is the amount of forms that the anima can take is like it's an infinite. But it is also has a very consistent taste across dreams. And for a man, that's usually the anima usually shows up as a woman in a man's dream. But it can show up as an animal, as a plant, as any feminine symbol could be the anima, but it has a taste to it, which is endlessly fascinating for me. And likewise, for a woman in a woman's dream, the animus appears as a man or a masculine symbol and is generally a guide, sometimes a very unhelpful guide.
A trickster guide, you could say.
Yeah.
Well, and that something I really wanted to talk to you guys about was the subtle realm, the authentic subtle realm versus the false subtle realm, of entering into the subtle realm and being guided in a way into a new reality, but there also being pitfalls and places where you can be led astray. So that's one theme I kind of want to volley out, but also you keep talking about the anima and the animus as these guiding presences as you deepen into the dream realm, and psychopomp, the guide of the soul. This term, the guide of the soul, keeps coming into my mind. Do you think that's an appropriate title for your respective dream? Psychopomp. Luke,
I don't know
that
term. It might be for you.
Luke, what's going on in your brain?
I'm just basking in this beautiful conversation, just chilling. I have a few more questions for sure. I would love to at some point do an actual interpretation if that's still in the cards.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'd love to look at a dream if either of you have one, or if that's a thing.
And since we're transitioning a little bit, I bookmarked this quote from the movie Waking Life, which was very formative to me as a 16-year-old deepening into the dream realm. The quote was, "As the pattern becomes more intricate and subtle, being swept along is no longer enough." If you remember. And there was something really striking about that to me, because as I was deepening into an awareness of my subtle self existing in the dream realm, I realized that reality was much stranger than I had realized. And it woke something up in me, a fire of wanting to explore and understand this place.
Yeah.
So wanted to offer that as more fuel for our conversation.
I have a few more questions. Some of these are a little bit random, not in the sense of they make no sense, but they're kind of just distinct things that I wrote down. Is there like a central book or resource that you could point beginners to? It was like, oh yeah, like this is the main manual or the starting point, at least. What would that be?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I have a very, I think we both agree on this particular thing. That Jung was a font of information, but he, in my opinion, he descended into the unconscious in a way that very few people, that the only people that you really see who are actually attempting to do that are schizophrenic, and they don't return from that, and they remain in that their whole life. And I think that that's what makes him unique, is that I think he went to a similar place, but somehow pulled himself out. Somehow he reemerged and then was able to talk about it with his rationality. His rationality came back online. He talks about when he descended, he forgot his name. He forgot where he lived. He forgot his phone number. He painstakingly writes with the details of every single thing, and it makes it very hard to digest. It's like it's like a crude oil. It's not refined, but it is
Nice.
full of energy, full of psychic energy. His disciples, or analysans, they basically, that transmission was refined through them, basically going through analysis. And I think that Marie-Louise von Franz is his right hand woman. I actually like her more than Jung, and she has a YouTube documentary called The Way of the Dream that is fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's by far my favorite intellectual, spiritual teacher, whatever you want to call it. And The Way of the Dream is just amazing. Like I've watched it several times, and you can take it in pieces.
Yeah.
And certain things will strike you depending on where you are in your life and where, what kind of season you're in your life.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out.
So I'll occasionally write down some keywords and stuff, kind of like session notes. And I'm so far really happy with this conversation. We've talked about dreams being a capacity or skill. We've talked about the nature of consciousness, the subtle realm having its own kind of reality or address. We've talked about the collective unconscious, about depersonalization and individualization, this vast intelligence that we're kind of being drawn towards, or maybe it's drawing towards us. Maybe it has its own intelligence. Maybe it's a ground of divinity or represents something like a deeper realm closer to God than the concrete realm. What keeps coming up for me is that there's an intelligence here that speaks to us in a way that is non-random and non-arbitrary and deeply personal, as well as vastly relatable. And I'm going to run this dream by you guys. I hope that's okay. And you can interpret it if you like, but I'd really like to share it. I shared it on one of our podcasts already. But I had this dream earlier this year where I was standing on a tropical beach as a 13 or 14-year-old, like a prepubescent, not yet grown into my manhood. And I had long brown hair, kind of like I did when I was an adolescent. And I had a few pimples on my face. And there was a camera or footage being shot of me, but the perspective was from divine maternal love, like deep, unconditional maternal love. And a giant brown eagle swooped behind my back and covered my frame in its enormous brown plumage and put its beak directly over the crown of my head, and then swooped around and started whispering in my ear. And as it whispered, I would interpret and I would start speaking, but I didn't understand all of the things that it was saying. So I was trying to do my best, right? And then in my arms started piling up bouquets of flowers, as if from nowhere. Bouquets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just piles of these beautiful flowers, fragrant, beautiful gifts out of nowhere. the image shifted and I was standing on the beach again as this young boy. And I said, "I love you, Mama." And the image of the perspective of the maternal, divine, unconditional love and this young boy merged and the dream ended.
Wow.
I woke up from that one and I was deeply moved. And it seems like a good example of both personal and archetypal imagery. And I'm wondering if I can challenge you guys to run me down on what you think that dream is about.
Wow. So the dream starts with you on a beach and you're adolescent. You're in your preteen, teen years.
Did you say you're on an island or just a beach?
Yeah.
Tropical beach. It reminded me of Hawaii, but it was kind of a blanket, beautiful, pristine tropical
Right.
beach.
Okay.
So again, so we're gonna set up the scaffolding, and then as we in the conversation, we'll get into the personal things that have to do with Kevin specifically, right? So, generally speaking, all anything I say is a generalization. So, generally speaking, the beach is the edge of consciousness. It's where the like the terrestrial and the aquatic meet, and the unconscious is usually represented by bodies of water and but then you also have this land. Land is like places that consciousness has gained a foothold. Instead of it being a vast ocean of water that nothing ever comes out of, right? That nothing ever penetrates that surface and moves into towards the sky and towards the sun. You have this land. So there's already a texture here of it saying this is happening at the edge. This is at the edge of consciousness, for Kevin. And then the age. So the age you are, you're going through puberty is what it kind of sounds like. It's like you have the hormones, you have the long hair, like that could be in reference to, I imagine maybe that time period, something in that time period was probably salient for you at the time of this dream. How long ago was this dream?
How long ago did I have the dream?
Yeah.
It was earlier this year, probably in February.
Wow. Okay. That's a
And
lot.
yeah,
This
and
is October now. Okay.
the adolescent piece also feels like this liminal space between childhood and adulthood and puberty. And it felt like the innocence of childhood was there, but also the awakening into something deeper as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Right. It's a massive transition. It's one of the biggest transitions you could go through in life.
Yeah, besides birth.
Yeah, you're becoming a man. You're going from being a boy to a man. It's mature. So there's this massive maturity that's happening in that you're becoming virile and vital in a way you weren't. It's there's a kind of a densifying too, right? You're not just a squishy little thing that is kind of just going with what other people want, or with with nature. You're kind of you're pulling out towards this is a way of, you could look at individuation, right? We talked about that before, pulling out of your early developmental into manhood. So you're moving in that direction.
Mm.
It's an homage to that, development.
Which I think is kind of represented in a way by, this eagle coming down, because the eagle is still a creature of the mother, but it is, it's a bird, it's a sky creature, which is generally, you would relate to the masculine. And it's like you have all this very feminine and motherly, as you say, like, I love you, Mom, and you have all these bouquets. It's like very much, I think, honoring the mother in this dream, but you have this eagle in this masculine, speaking in your ear. It seems like that separation to really become a man, you separate from mother. Like,
yeah. So pretty much all of these nature symbols, except for the sun and to a degree the eagle, there's a lot of femininity in them. So you have the water, you have any animal or plant. So you have the eagle and the roses, you said, or flowers.
Yeah, bouquets of flowers, including roses. Yeah.
Okay. So varied flowers.
Yeah, it was a bit vague in the dream. I didn't, see any particular types of flowers, but they were varied in their colors, and there were multiple of them, one after another, just kind of piling up.
So there was a lot of different colors of flowers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anything that is like from nature is essentially a great mother or feminine symbol. But it's that those symbol, it's like the aspect of the great mother as best described by a eagle, as best described by a bouquet of flowers. So the feminine and the masculine, they have many aspects to them, but in this dream, the self is using capital S self, or is kind of synonymous with God, or whatever you want to call that.
The ground of divinity, you said earlier.
The ground of divinity, yeah, the divine center is communicating something with this eagle, and it's actually literally communicating, whispering to you in your ear. So the eagle is one of the more masculine. It's kind of it's a conjunctio in a way, where conjunctio is something that has both poles imbued in it. Mm-hmm. So it's a creature of the sky, but it's still an animal, so it's feminine. And so there's
what was that word that you just used? Conjunctio?
Conjunctio.
Conjunctio.
Spelled like conjunction.
Yeah.
CUNJINT.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. How do you like that word, Luke? Mr. Word Nerd.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Doesn't like it.
Sounds like it sounds like a Harry Potter spell. That's great.
Yeah, it does.
Conjunctio.
Yeah, totally.
I love that.
Yeah, the flowers are escaping me. Do you have anything to say about the flowers?
No, I mean, I have two things coming up for me. One, like, just asking you directly, like, what is your association with eagles?
Mm-hmm.
And then two,
yeah,
I do wish, it's like, is there any part of you that remembers what was going on when you had the dream in February?
Yes. And in my own mind, the dream was prophetic in the sense that the flowers piling up felt like these continual blessings and gifts. Of a feminine nature, in the sense that since the dream, I've had these incredibly powerful and nurturing experiences that have sort of come out of nowhere. I'm sitting in Telluride right now. Didn't expect to be here, but I've been exploring the Colorado mountains. I was exploring Maui earlier this year, so literally went to that beach scene that was described in the dream, which the dream became before I went to Hawaii, which was really wild to me. We didn't talk about prophetic dreams yet, but that's something that I wanted to hit with you guys, possibly, of how, because the dream realm exists in its own dimension outside of the confines of space and time, sometimes dreams will come that actually speak to things that will happen in the future, and they aren't just, a synthesis of the past. But yeah, my life very much has followed. Hollis, you'll remember from Waking Life that term "dream is destiny," and it's very that dream especially has felt very much like a dream that spoke to a kind of destined path that has been unfolding through this year. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a term that is used, generally speaking, a redemptive dream. So not all dreams leave you with like you said, well, this is a profound dream. You woke up feeling amazing, I imagine. Like that redeems,
Full of awe.
full of
Mm.
awe, right? That's a
Yeah.
redemptive moment in dreams. Not all dreams are like this. That is and this is part of the magic of dreams. And one of the things that you start to see when you're looking at your dreams, particularly with an analyst continuously, is you'll be having dreams that are kind of similar for a while, and it's like you're working on something, and then you finally get to a redemptive dream where the entire thing is kind of the problem is solved, or that's not the best way of saying it.
Like,
It's the strife and the struggle and the all the effort that you've been going to, the self finds a way. It's like, oh, well, the eagle needs to come from above and touch the crown chakra and whisper in your ear. And then you have you and your mother, in this very positive mother, it seemed like, coming together and uniting, and these are solutions to problems that no human can create.
Well put. Well put.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that dreams as kind of cairns or markers to your own personal growth, and having these different elements of both masculine and feminine imagery and symbolism that at a certain point kind of solve,
Mm-hmm.
and it solves you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, right. And it's very personal to you. I mean, yeah.
Do you guys have some examples of redemptive dreams in your own lives, that you've had some of these liminal moments where you feel like you're connected to something much deeper, and the imagery was perfect for where you were at and solved something in you, or at least pointed a direction, an important juncture, a conjunctio?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like you have more redemptive dreams than I do. He wakes up so often. Like, I had the best redemptive dream.
Yeah. I mean, I also have,
Jealous.
the other side of the spectrum is like a nightmare. And like, this is a real, like, it's not, like, these are the kind of moments that keep me interested, but, let's see.
Yeah, well, nightmares can be really powerful and informative too, eh?
Yeah, they
Totally.
kind of serve let me see if I can find a redemptive dream that I would be comfortable with sharing. Some dream, I mean, there's one in particular. I don't know if I can share that one yet.
Maybe
There's a big learning thing that one of the things I've been learning through dreams is the importance of secrets.
Mm.
I'm not one to usually keep them. I'll just fly off the cuff and overshare, and so I don't know if I want to share the dream I'm thinking of right now, but
yeah, well, this
Worries
is
if you
beyond
don't
sharing
feel
a
like sharing
secret. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
sharing it publicly, but that's also something that I really love about you, Hollis, is your ability to deeply reveal in such an authentic way the
Thanks.
details of your inner world, which is quite rich.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to share one, I have one that felt like a nightmare, but also like when I looked at it, it was like, oh, like, I think when you have nightmares, it's the shock. It's like the unconscious shocking you to see something. And it was the shock, but then also like felt redemptive at the end. And
Cool,
it's pretty
yeah.
short, but
I'm going to go through my list of dreams and see if I can find one, but you go ahead.
okay. So I have this dream. I'm driving a car, and this car, like, I don't remember what the car looks like. It has no doors on it. Don't remember the color. Like, it's very nondescript. And I'm being chased by this man who seems like he's crazy. Like, seems all bloody and just like totally unhinged. And he grabs the car while I'm driving it and like throws it, and the car crashes and tumbles, and I'm, thinking like, oh, there's no way I'm going to survive this. And I get out of the car and I start walking, and I'm surprised that I feel fine. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, I can still walk. Well, and he continues to chase me and like starts beating me up, takes the car in his hand and like rolls it over my head. And I'm like, oh, my skull's going to be crushed. There's no way I'm going to survive this. Well, then, a little while later in the dream, I see myself in a mirror, and I'm not bloody. I'm perfectly intact. And so when I went to look at this dream with my analyst, initially I was like, I'm really worried. Like, I don't know what my relationship with this Onimus is, or like what this dream is trying to tell me about it. And so we started looking at it, and she was like, well, you're driving, you're in an attitude that is completely nondescript. And I think I have a propensity in life to, in moments where I feel uncomfortable, like very much become nondescript. Like I kind of blend into the background and kind of just be quiet, and I'm not going to cause any problems. I'm going to have no opinions. Like, I'll just kind of disappear. So she's like, there's this Onimus figure who is trying to wake you up to the fact that you are, that you're in this nondescript attitude of just trying to be completely invisible. And she was like, and the fact that when you look in the mirror, you don't have blood all over you, haven't been damaged, like, is the fact that you actually have the skill to not be in this nondescript attitude anymore. Like, this nondescript attitude, isn't just taking you over and ruling you. It's like, no, you have the skill to actually do something different. So
Amazing.
That felt redeeming to me at the end.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you said, it was a nightmare that shocked you into a realization of something that you needed to see, and then ultimately was redemptive. But in the moment, it was a nightmare.
Totally.
But you chose to learn from it. So that would be a really good example of you interpreting imagery from the dream through a Jungian framework, and then using that for your own growth. It indicates like a growth edge, right? Or somewhere where you can be more in your wholeness and less in your nondescriptality.
Totally.
That's really interesting.
It also, I want to highlight the importance of the role of the analyst. Like because like the dreams are, in a way, they are seeing directly at our shadow. We're looking directly at something that is dark. So when it's you looking at it, you don't necessarily know what's going on. Sometimes I think your dream, Kevin, is probably, it sounds more like an exception to this rule, but like Adeline took it pretty literally, right? Like you're like, wow, I'm getting beaten with a car. Like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Like our minds jumped, because we have, we're sitting in this time where rationality is like the highest technology for humans. We jump to literalism even in our dreams, constantly. So without an analyst, without someone to see it from another angle, I think I even looked at that dream and I didn't have I had the same conclusion as her. I was like, I don't know. But like, so
it's especially getting crushed repeatedly and then continuing to get up. This bloody lunatic following you and chasing you, you're afraid, and yet you interpret it as, oh, this is a part of myself that in some way is illustrating my own resilience, or telling me something, informing me in some way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But also like informing me of the fact that, like, if I really want to be in this nondescript attitude, and just sit back and not really participate in life, like I'm kind of beating myself up.
You're going to get rolled on.
I'm not actually living. I'm not participating in life. Like, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I'll just.
And then also, like, there also the importance of the the intuitive function, right? Like when, like a lot of this is like we're just kind of throwing things out there, and then all of a sudden it hits, and you're like, oh yeah, that's it.
Right.
Like, right, like you're
Yeah.
part of how you and your analyst came to that is like you had an intuitive hit that like, oh, this is the thing. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
This is reminding me of you. You guys interpreted a dream of mine earlier this year when you were my guests in my home. And there was this image of a red Swiss Army knife.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I said, isn't that weird? I got poked by a Swiss Army knife. And you said, well, you know, is it? What does the color red symbolize to you? And I said, well, you know, it's like blood. It's like, and we riffed on this for a while. It's like blood.
Yeah.
It's like passion. It's like family. It's like genetics. It's like everything that blood represents. Oh yeah, and my grandfather always carried around these Swiss Army knives, and he gave one to me, and so it even more represents family. And we and there's a bunch of different knives and tools and stuff, and you were like, oh, that represents the filling out of all your capacities and your ability to be multi-use and be able to use your skills across a great variety of circumstances. And as we unpacked it, what it meant personally for me, just this simple little dream symbol became packed with meaning.
Right.
And I thought about it completely differently from then on.
Right.
So much so that I went home to Rhode Island a few months later, and I found that little red Swiss Army knife. I sent you a photo, if you remember.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like, yeah, there's certain aspects of a dream that really start to stick out.
And poke you.
In a world grappling with mass isolation and total lack of genuine relationships.
OMG, did you see Tyler's story last night?
OMG, low-key WTH? What better way to bring humanity back together than a dream of utopia shared by everyone on Earth? No cap, last night I had this crazy dream where like the whole world came together and we all just like hung out and loved each other and everything was so beautiful and perfect.
Bruh, I had that dream too.
Bruh.
Like, what do you think it means?
Who cares? Let's get bottomless Bellinis. One Last Futile Dream in theaters this Christmas.
I have this is kind of a tangent, maybe more for you, Luke. Like I have a I think there's something that might be salient for you that's also salient for me. And I listened to your guys' podcast, and in your first, I think it was your first episode, you were talking about the combine. Do you remember that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I actually have a redemptive dream that had something kind of like a combine in it. I could nerd out about combines and how cool they are.
Yeah.
But so I had a dream where I was driving on a road in a truck with my dad, and my dad was driving the truck, and we go and there's like this new area of land up to a mountain that's being developed. It's like being farmed. They're tilling the ground. They're disking the ground. So they're cutting it with discs that you pull behind a tractor. And we go on this road and we get up to this mine, and there's this mine, and there's a foreman, and there's my father, and then I'm there, and we're gonna all work at this mine that day. And we start working, and we're cutting away we're kind of like strip mining. We're like cutting away the side of this mountain to get, I don't know what it is we're looking for exactly. It's not clear that it's gold or what it is, but we've got to get one of these excavators. It looked kind of like a combine. That's kind of why I thought of this, Luke, was it had combine elements to it of a million different apparatus inside of it. And the foreman kind of tells me to replace the battery. Well, I say, okay, I go and I open up and I look at the battery. Well, the battery is like a space age alien, like out of a Marvel movie kind of looking battery. It's a cylinder with blue liquid in it. And I'm just like, I don't know how to do this, but this foreman is sure that I do. And he comes over and he's like, oh yeah, well, you got to do it like this. And he goes and he gets it. And my dad is watching, and he gets it and he pours out this blue liquid into another thing. And then he puts other blue liquid in it, and then he replaces it. And it's the thing where he gets it spinning. And this dream was, it was huge for me when it happened. And
why? Yeah, it's there's so much powerful imagery in there. But
Yeah.
what was the feeling that you woke up with? Like, what was the emotional tone?
I mean, similar awe. It was just like immense awe, and like, it was so. I think what moved me about it. Oh, I'm gonna get a little teary. Is that foreman, the confidence he had in me. There was something where they replaced the battery, and then he wanted me to run the excavator. I never ran an excavator. I've always wanted to, but he was just like, run it, like do it, get to work. And it was like, even though it was my first day on the job, I haven't been hired. He's got this confidence in me, and that like, so this is like a really positive. Well, when we analyze it, this is a really positive masculine figure, this foreman, who he's showing me that the energy for this machine that's going to cut into the ground and look for the riches of the earth that I am ready to do that, that you can do that, and that that there was this immense confidence and love, and also deference to me in the face of my father, right? So there's a lot of, so if I give you the analysis of this, part of the analysis of this dream is there's a lot of cutting into the ground. So before we even get to the mine, there's this disking on the dirt, and the ground has been tilled. Well, that tilling, that's how consciousness uproots and pulls up things out of the unconscious, out of the dirt and into the light. So that's the cutting, the blades of the disc and the blade of the excavator. These are masculine symbols that are really positive in this orientation. They're not, it's not a utility capitalism fantasy of like raping the earth. Like, this is, we're doing, like, that's not the quality of this. Like, you could go there, but that's not what this is. This is something where we're really, like, we're tilling the earth. This is consciousness exploring and looking for the jewels, which are the condensed, numinous, very dense amounts of consciousness. Like, gold is what leads to the sorcerer's stone or the philosopher's stone, if Harry Potter or the Greeks. Yeah.
Conjunctio.
Yeah.
Yes. And it speaks to me too of, just as you interpreted my dream with the sky eagle, this solar, father, paternal confidence and power, meeting where the sea and the earth is. Also, your dream has that kind of lifting up the depth of the earth into the light of the sky, into consciousness itself. And then you're looking for this thing, and what you find is this generation of power that only you can attend to, because your father's now in the back seat. And I could see why it would be so empowering to you.
Totally.
And that's the riches that you find, actually, is this. What would you even describe? Like, you found the philosopher's stone in that dream, and it was in this complex thing that you were being encouraged to look at, to understand. I don't know if you want to take it that far, but
absolutely.
Your vehicle for discovering riches actually became symbolized more
Yes.
even than what was hidden under the ground and buried in there, right?
Absolutely. At that moment, it was about understanding, wow, the energy of the masculine aspect of the psyche is much more complicated than I could imagine. It's not going to, I'm not going to be able to right? If it was rationality, it would have been gears and a combustion engine. It would have been something we already understand. No, this is a blue liquid. Like blue is like usually the color of logos, of order. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's liquid, so it's energy. Like, and it's in a cylinder. The cylinder still perplexes me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a phallic symbol, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's kind of like a phallus, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
also spinning, right?
And it also spins, yeah.
What
So that
an
makes-
incredible thing to discover in a dream.
Absolutely. It's
Well, and maybe the whole point is that you will never understand that thing that you discovered, right?
yeah, hey.
And yeah, you have
Very
this
well.
intimation that it's this
Mhm.
masculine potency, and
Right.
yet when you try to look into it, it sort of evades your grasp. Kind of like the what's the thing from the Harry Potter series that they have to chase after on brooms? It's like a snitch or a
Snitch.
Yeah.
sneedle or a whatever.
Golden snitch.
The
Yeah.
golden snitch. Yeah, it always it's there and it represents a real thing, but it always evades capture. And when you capture it, you win the entire game because it
Right.
represents ultimate value, even though you can never understand it. Something like that.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, one of the I'm thinking of, I think it's a Jung quote, something like you can never look God in the eye.
You'd be destroyed. You would cease to exist, right?
Yeah.
You know when you've had a redemptive dream? Because I feel like some dreams I have, I'm like, should I make something of that, or was it just random bullshit? Sometimes it's obvious when it's symbolically
Mhm.
powerful, but other times I'm like, I don't think there is anything. I don't think I need to, sit
Mhm.
with that. That was just some random junk
Right.
that needs to float around in there? But how do you tell the
Right.
difference?
Well, I think there is a bit of missing, like it's not every dream is like we're kind of sharing some like creme de la creme, I think.
Definitely.
But there's a lot of dreams I look at and I'm just like, wow, like I'm really like I get I get the feeling of like, oh yeah, like this could go somewhere, but it's not there yet. Like the dream I just described, like I was there, I was in awe, I was in like rapture with the divine. And I think part of it is like the more you look at it, the more you have a chance to have that experience. And then also sometimes they're not it's not this, the self takes time too, it's something I keep realizing is like it's like one problem at a time and in good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, to spend some time sitting with it is more likely that it'll engender something important for you. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
But I also think like what you're saying, it's like, in good time, it's like the unconscious, it's like there is a churning of information, and like I'll go, sometimes I'll go like a week of having dreams and I'm kind of like, ugh, like I'll write it down, but they don't really have a feeling attached to them, or it's like a partial dream and I don't really remember it. And I think it is that churning of information where, even the unconscious, it's like it's still pulling information out. So not even all the information is in the dream. Like, yeah, you could look at the dream and, look at the symbols and get something from it. But sometimes even that I think is not the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kevin, I don't know how many more thoughts or questions you have. I have like 3 or 4 more questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot.
Okay. What would society look like if everyone were in touch with their dream worlds, actively studying them?
Would we be a bunch of raving lunatics?
Or would it be super cool? Would there be more peace?
If we if society was, it's kind of it's a bit of a chicken and the egg for me. Is how that's where I immediately go. Is like, well, if society was looking at all their dreams, things would be a lot different than they are. Like the psyche would be it would be allowing that as much as we would be participate. So one of the central, what I think is probably the central Jungian claim, I can rarely get concise, but this is a concise one. What separates Jung and Jungians from other religions and philosophies is that the kind of central claim is that the fate of man and the fate of God are inextricably linked. That actually God will die if we die, and we will die if God dies, or we will prosper and God will prosper simultaneously. And that one of the hangovers from the Abrahamic religions is that God is up there in the sky and we're down here on earth. And there's a big power differential with that. He's literally higher up than us. So then we look up like children and he looks down like authority. And that kind of inverse, that, polarity is kind of, I don't think that the Christians intended it, but I think it's kind of woven into Christianity. Not by, I don't think that anyone intended it. I think it's just a part of the evolution of the psyche. But the personal relationship with God is also an aspect of Christianity that I think is probably the best part of it. So Jungians kind of think that what if it was equal? What would that be like?
Yeah, Luke, to your question, like if all of us experienced ourselves and each other as part and parcel of God, as this greater force, wouldn't that engender a kind of unconditional agape or love that would make a lot of our problems of separation cease to exist?
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking in very vague terms, and someone who's not very familiar with the theories of dream interpretation. But yeah, I would like to at least fantasize about a world where everyone or most people are at least trying to understand themselves well enough so that they have the humility to treat, strangers with respect and neighborliness and those very seemingly basic traits. And I wonder if understanding your own dream patterns would help with that. I would imagine yes. But that's why, again, we wanted to talk to you guys about this because it does seem like it's such a, not just a niche, but it's also this, I think it's perceived by a lot of people as sort of woo-woo or maybe even not scientifically valid, which is
Totally.
too bad. I hope that more people can feel the validity and it becomes as popular as like yoga or something one day. You know what I mean? Like we have, people even complain about how therapy speak is becoming overused. Like I wonder if someday
Yeah.
Jungian dream analysis speak will be like so popular that it's annoying. You know what I mean? I wonder why there are these. Reasons that it hasn't become more widespread.
I have a lot to say about that. Well, one of the things I'll say is that Jung, as much as this is a lineage, like, and we kind of like, especially Americans, like we like our independence. We like to think that we're the one that figured the things out, and we got away from the colony. We're a rogue colony, and we're rebellious and rebel yell and whatever. But really, so much of psychological terms are disseminated from Jung. Shadow, unconscious, he popularized all of the archetype. He basically invented that word. He invented the word like shadow, and popularized many of the words that are now ubiquitous in the New Age movement. And I always find that like that just kind of, it just blows my mind when I really like think about that. And I think it's because those terms are salient, and like we don't have other words for them. And also they are dislocated. They're discombobulated and dislocated from their source and from their original context, which is dreams, to be frank.
Yeah.
Like that is the context that all of those terms arose, was in dreams and active imagination. Active imagination is something like, it's like dreaming awake. Maybe I think a lot of people naturally do this in the morning when they're waking up or when they're going to sleep, and looking at those images, conversing with them. Meditation is adjacent to this for sure, but actively engaging with phenomenon as if they are real, as if they are another person. That's kind of part of this, equal playing field with God that I was speaking to.
Yeah, it strikes me suddenly that the dream realm is a nation without borders, and that intrepid travelers do go there and come back with the gifts of being able to describe a location. I was out for a hike this morning, and there was a big rock, and it stuck into the sky, and it was surrounded by kind of grass. And so I used those words to describe that, and you're like, okay, I can kind of picture that. But if you went there and you came back, I'd be like, did you see the rock and it had grass around it? And you'd be like, yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah, words can't convey how cool that fucking rock was. I took a photo, so maybe that will help. But yeah, dream realm, similar. It's there. You go there. I saw all this archetypal imagery. It was deeply powerful. I woke up in a state of awe. It's changed me. I've grown. It's indicated paths of development that I couldn't have charted for myself. Don't you agree? Yeah, because I've been there, because I'm, an explorer of this nation too, without borders. So, yeah.
That's cool. I sort of bridges to another question I had. Do you think it's possible to share dreams with others in a certain way? I wanted to tie it back to how you brought up the collective unconscious at the very beginning, because I've always been fascinated by that idea. It makes total sense to me. Not that I perfectly understand it, but if there's an aspect of this dream realm that is sort of shared, I wonder if you can sort of share a dream with someone if you're like psychically merged or something.
I think you can.
Good question.
That's a great question. I think you can too. Especially, I think when you're, if you are having collective dreams, I feel like there would be more potential to have overlapping.
Yeah, I think with this I could touch into the prophetic dreams piece. Yeah, some dreams are about waking life literally, and I think it's a very small amount of them, but but it is a thing that happens. I have a friend, doesn't live far from here. His his dad was going to go on a flight. His mom had a terrible dream that the plane was going to crash, and she made a big deal about it and didn't let him go on the plane. And he didn't go on the plane, and that plane crashed.
That's insane.
Yeah. And like that's
crazy.
Yeah,
pay attention to your dreams,
striking.
folks. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Unless like there's something else going on that we don't understand.
How do you even explain that? I mean, I've heard of similar stories too. Well, none come to mind at the exact moment, but I've heard people say that, and just famous examples. Like what the hell is that? That's wild. That alone should give us motivation to pay more attention to dreams, or just listen to people who seem to be really in touch with their own dream world. I would hope.
Sure. so this is part. I could talk about the Great Mother here a little bit. So consciousness is kind of an unnatural phenomenon in a way, and I mean that actually kind of literally. It's literally not of nature. Nature exists in a state of equilibrium that is kind of chaotic, and things change very slowly. Consciousness does do that also, but like the feeling of a nightmare, right, is like it's so shocking. You're shocked into awareness, right? You are aware, but that fades away. So something is happening. You're very aware, you're very awake, and then wakefulness subsides. That pull back to equilibrium is a part of how the Great Mother functions. Pulls us back to what's familiar, safe, and known. And there's a positive aspect of that and a negative aspect of that. And in a positive sense, we get to come back home. We get to come, like, you get to go into your house and see your family and see your friends and see your lover and your kids and be with your family and be together. That's positive. But there's also a nostalgia for that keeps us coming back, looking, getting homesick is kind of like this, and longing for a place that doesn't exist or a place you can't go back to. And kind of oppositely, consciousness it's awakeness. It's light being shown on something. And it can be so bright that it actually blinds. You can bring awareness to something, but it can also just blind you. And you can be like one of the father. So the negative father. It's harder for me to describe this, but one of the aspects of the negative father is perfection. So like the constant seeking of perfection and perfectionism. This is kind of a way that discernment and the function of pointing towards something, right? Like pointing like a phallus, or like a blade, you're cutting things or you're pointing towards something. That's kind of like, those are masculine. That's a way of thinking about masculinity, is it's a pointed phallic object. And you can point at something so much that you want it to be perfect, that you want it to be something that, like the Muslims, for example, like in their art, they always intentionally put a blemish or an impurity to make it so it's not perfect. In their mandalas and their geometry, like they always put something there so that they're not trying to one up God. I just heard that the other day, so that they don't one up God. Yeah, another version of that is like the atomic bomb and the nuclear bomb. These are we're so focused that we split an atom, and it creates the most devastation that is possible.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I love that dichotomy too. You explaining the masculine versus the feminine energies, or how they play, and you're telling us too that they show up in the dream realm as your direct opposite if you're a male or masculine dreamer, or if you're a female or feminine dreamer, and that it's this kind of play, and both have their. You don't want to go into the shadow and the pitfall of the feminine too much, because you get sucked in and stuck and stymied and held back.
Yes.
Nor do you want to go into the pitfall of the masculine, because you start thinking that all of this concrete realm is an illusion.
Yes.
And it's to be thrown away or transcended fully, and you miss your life.
Absolutely. And you see this in the spiritual communities. I love that you brought that in, Kevin. Like that's a huge piece, is the pretend and transcend and pretend to go above it all, to not live right here on the dirt.
Well, I have
dangerous.
last question. I kind of try to bridge it from what you guys are just saying. Speaking of not wanting to one up God, when I moved to Philly 3 months ago, I became a member at the Philly Museum of Art, now called the Philly Art Museum, by the way, just so you know. Um,
Seems
After
like
like
semantics, but okay.
150 years, that was their big name change. Anyway, I've been there,
Nice
like,
work, guys.
it's awesome. Yeah.
Countless meetings to decide that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
they didn't want that preposition in there. God damn it. But I've been there like 5 times now, and it finally hit me that, well, just this is my feeling anyway, that all these different cultures through all these hundreds and thousands of years of creating these things that are now in this one place, incredibly, it just, you get this feeling that each of these individuals or groups of people, it just really feels like that's their expression of thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Like, whatever the hell life is in our slice of the world, this is our homage to the creator. You just, I don't know. I was walking from gallery to gallery, everywhere from, 20th century French painting all the way to, basically ancient Indian, like, sandstone sculptures. And it would just, I don't know, this feeling kept coming up everywhere I went. And I kept feeling like, man, I really just want to feel what these people were feeling when they were making this thing. I want to just, see them and talk to them. And I'm wondering if it's possible. This is an extension of my last question, I guess, but if it would be possible to receive or find dreams of your ancestors, or intentionally like dream into a certain group of people or place. If that would be awesome. If so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited by you bringing in art. Like, I think that is, it seems to me that that as you individuate, art and artistry is a kind of natural, and creation is a natural byproduct of individuation.
Yeah.
And so, like, Adeline is a much longer time artist than I am, and I feel like I'm kind of I've kind of started to recover that slowly over the past few years. I think that it would never, if you could do that, Luke, I think it would never taste as good as your own inspiration. Like, I love the inspiration that you have from them. I can feel that. Like, I love museums also. And I think there might be something salient there for you of, like, I mean, what if you could put a painting up on that wall, or what if your paintings could be seen in the mausoleum of the unconscious?
That's a cool image.
Yeah, like, I think that there is, like, the woo-woo people talk about the what is it, Kevin, what's it called, the library, or the
Akasha,
Akashic
the
record.
Akashic
Yeah.
records.
Yeah, like, I think there's something like that. I really do think there's something like that in the unconscious.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's why people build temples, is they're like the closest thing to it.
And a temple represents a place that is a entry point or a midway point between the heavenly realms and the earthly realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily its location in physical space, but that it represents the intersection between the divine and the banal. My teacher was a direct student of Trungpa Rinpoche's, and Rinpoche used to say to him, you always want to leave a conversation with a little bit more to say and slightly unfinished. And I'm wondering, in that vein, because I know we could talk for a lot longer and we'd have a lot more morsels to unearth, if you'd like to wrap it up, and if you have any final remarks or things that are alive with you right now that must be stated.
I think my final thing, just talking about creation, is like when you ask the question about like what if everybody was looking at their dreams, the first thing that popped in my mind is like I think our world would be so much more creative. I feel like there would be so much creative potential available. And like, you know, when you talk about going to the museum and looking at art and wanting to know what that feeling is like, and it's like in the collective, in this world we live in, there's so many carbon copies of each other, and there's something to me that's so inspiring about the individuation process of like how much, as you move away from that, like how much creative potential is opened up, and how much more beautiful could the world be if that was possible.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Asclepion. We hope you enjoyed the show and that you feel uplifted, empowered.
Yeah, just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on X and all that shit, all right?
Farewell, friends.